Hello, people. We're back. Hello, Internet people. Ant Gold here on behalf of JVS, and I am here, and believe me, no one's more shocked than me, to discuss Star Trek Picard Season 3. Now, I got to see the first 6 episodes a couple weeks before they came out. I'm a little behind on this. You know, Sam doesn't let me out the basement too often, and I just went wild. But Star Trek Season 3. Now, you all know, if you've watched any of this channel, that I think Star Trek Picard Season 2 is the worst, poorly written, produced, presented season of Star Trek. Which I thought that nothing was surpassed TNG Season 1. And I wasn't a fan too much of Season 1 Picard because it didn't really feel like Picard to me. There were some very illogical things that was happening, in my opinion. I know some people really liked one. Some people just liked the fact that Star Trek Picard Season 1 was bringing people back, right? Didn't really feel like it to me. Didn't feel like it was a natural progression of some of these characters. And Picard didn't seem like Picard. It seemed like Patrick Stewart. And no hate. It seemed like Patrick Stewart had dealt with a lot of things from his early life, and he was putting them into now. And that can work, but it didn't feel like Picard. And so they had to force some things into the character that didn't really belong there, in my opinion. So I think that even people who enjoyed Season 1 and Season 2 could admit some of the challenges it had. That said, we come into Season 3, and Season 3 began filming before Season 2 was even finished. I think they even filmed some things while they were filming Season 2, and they announced it halfway through Season 2, like, hey, don't go anywhere. They got some good stuff. And with that, we got Star Trek Picard Season 3 with a new showrunner, Telly Matalis, I believe is what it said. And he apparently worked in Star Trek franchises back during the TNG era, or the Enterprise, Voyager era of Star Trek. And whatever this mojo this man has sprinkled on this production is working. Look, Star Trek Picard Season 3, if you like that era, the TNG to Enterprise era of Star Trek, he brings that in here. This feels like natural progressions of the character. This feels like stuff that actually makes sense, and plots and things we care about. It doesn't feel like someone just Wikipedia'd Picard and took the most interesting thing, or just watched the movies and then thought that Picard and Data were best friends. This feels like a continuation. Like, if Season 1 and 2 of Picard didn't happen and you just pop this in, I'd be like, okay, this is what these characters have been doing for 20 years. There's some stuff that's shocking. There's some stuff that's changed. And there's some stuff they have to deal with that, frankly, is kind of hard to overwrite, right? So Picard having a positronic body, which I'm not for that decision. It seemed really, I don't know what they were thinking. But they do the best they can with the material they can't kind of ignore or overwrite. And they bring in new elements, new crew members. And if you watch Picard Season 2, they got rid of most of the cast. They didn't get rid of, I get hate for this. I was not a fan of Raffi's performance, her character arc, anything that happened. And even the relationship with Seven didn't really seem to work for me. And again, from my background, the profession, like, you know, dating an active addict who just starts recovery, that's not really recommended. But even Raffi in Season 3 is a better written character, and a better character. She went from, in my opinion, the worst main character of any Star Trek series to, like, okay, let's see where this is going. Let's see how this, getting back to some of the things that make this a good character that I'm interested in seeing what happens. It hasn't gotten there yet, but it has a lot of promise in the 6 episodes I've seen. They bring a lot of people back that have been gone, that you want to see. Some people that you might always wondered, like, oh, what happened to this character? For whatever reason, they didn't continue on to this place. They bring people back. There are real stakes. It feels like a plausible. It doesn't feel dystopian anymore, and I think that what a new generation of writers for Star Trek wanted to do was deconstruct. And I get that's an easier thing to do. I get that's it could even work in certain instances, but the better thing is, I mean, the harder thing is, I shouldn't say the better, the harder thing and more complex thing is to build on the ideas within these constraints. Anybody can write a story where Superman loses his powers for a day and has to deal like, oh, I'm immortal. But how many times can you tell that story? It's hard to deal with a walking god, and how do you challenge a walking god like a walking god? Um, so you don't have to turn the Star Federation evil or make them do things that are anti-ideals. You don't have to forget about the evolved humans of the Star Trek universe. Um, and people who know the material can make a universe believable. I know there's a lot of Discovery fans, and I don't even think all Discovery is bad. I'm not somebody who just wants to hate on Discovery, but they have had issues where they made things that didn't really make sense, like the burn. Made it seem like every race used the same uh, every civilization and race, whatever, use the same ways to interwarp. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you're like, wait, that wouldn't affect these people, so they should just take over, or it's just a lot of things that might work for their individual story, and some people might not mind that, but doesn't really work for the universe building as a whole. This does. It continues those stories and practices and works within those confines to make it interesting. New. What about this? And there's a lot of hints of a Star Trek storyline that I don't want to give too much away. It was kind of abandoned because that was one of the episodes of TNG that got too graphic for people back then in the 80s, early 90s. Anyway, I'm a big fan. If you've given up on this series, if you give up on Star Trek as a whole, because, well, I'm the opinion of maybe this area of Star Trek isn't for everybody. There's more focus on feelings than science and logic, and feelings run their universe in most of this thing. And not that humanity hasn't always had something like that, that for the Star Trek series, but it's also been balanced with improving our minds and our science and exploration and improving ourselves. And again, a lot of these series outside of Strange New Worlds has had a hard time, and Lower Decks. Lower Decks surprisingly has been excellent. Have had a hard time with those continuous long-running themes and stories of the season-wide plot. They haven't really flowed very well. They've had a hard time sticking those landings where the ending of the plot makes sense. First 6 episodes of this story, they have some mystery boxes. They solve the mystery boxes, will lead to other mysteries or other problems, and then they have to solve those. And they're using science, rank. Everybody is professional. There's Captain Shaw is a jerk, right? Comes up like a pure jerk, but he's competent, and he has a place in the story where I feel like other Star Treks of modern era might have made him be foolish or get hilariously killed or something like that to prove his attitude deserved he didn't live. Where his attitude came from trauma, and yeah, everybody's professional, everybody's great at the job. And the other thing is, Picard is respected. First 2 seasons, they blamed Picard for everything, and people didn't really seem to respect this guy who saved the universe or one of the most famous captains. It really didn't sit well with me a lot of times. To the fact, even when you had a younger character physically assault him, and people went, "You never dealt with girls, Picard." Shut the face, driver. I had a whole family and a whole dreamscape in my mind where I raised them, became a grandfather, and had to watch them all die. That was a terrible Picard. I'm having to think of my voice. I'll get better at it as the season goes on. Anyway, I highly recommend this. This is the most I've enjoyed Star Trek in a decade plus. Also, this seems like a really good farewell to one of the most popular crews in Star Trek history. To me, DS9 has always been, I've always considered that I've always considered DS9 to be the best written Star Trek. I'm just starting to look at the camera, people. I'm so sorry. Best written Star Trek. But TNG has held a place in all our hearts. And even though this crew didn't have the character development that we currently love from different other Trek series, it's good to have a proper send-off for them. Like Nemesis wasn't really worthy of this crew, in my opinion, the movie Nemesis. So this seems like it's giving us a proper send-off, a proper closure, and we get to see where these characters we love, where they ended up 20 plus years, sorry, later. I highly recommend it. I get if you guys are tired of it. I get if you think a new Trek isn't for you. I think like Strange New Worlds, this could be the Trek everybody can get into. That's my opinion. I hope you stick around. I got to talk about season 1 and season 3 today because I'm already late. We'll go for it. It'll be shorter than this. Sorry, but I really liked it. I really like this season of Trek, and I'm glad Patrick Stewart. I'm glad the rest of the crew. I'm very glad that they get to end on a strong note. Anyway, if it's the end, because I would see another season of this. But anyway, people, please tune in. Let us know what you think. I'm going to be here for the long haul. Come back. We're going to talk about season 3, episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's 10. It might be 9, but 10. And we're going to be here for it. Anyway, see you out there.